Okay, so from this equation, they want me to extract the location of the center, the vertices, the foci, and the equations for the asymptotes. So again, let's run through our 3 steps. Step number 1, you need to know the setup or the equation. Well, they already gave that to me. Step number 2, the orientation. Since y is positive and x is negative, it has to be opening up and down. So I just need to visualize this. I don't need to draw it, just be able to visualize that, okay? And then the third thing is to just be able to locate these particular coordinates based on knowing what A, B, and C stand for. So let's start off with the center. That's the most important one and supposed to be the easiest one. That's going to be -2 and -7 staring right at me, okay? Next thing I have to do is figure out what the V and the foci are. For the vertices, that's the letter A, which is in this case underneath the positive fraction, which is 5. C for the foci is not given in any one of these. So how do I figure it out? Anti-Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This is for hyperbolas, not for ellipses, okay? So a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is 169. So c must equal the square root of that, 13. So c is 13, okay? And we'll talk about asymptotes, which is actually the easiest thing to find a little bit later. But again, I'm going to use the same logic as I did before, okay? So if I visualize this, I know my center is here, and I know my vertices are above and below. That means the y's have to change, okay? So the x's will stay the same. In other words, I will have the same exact x value as my center here. All I have to do is change my y values, move it up and down. How much? This value here. So -7 plus 5, that's how I move up to find this vertex. So that's going to give me -2. And then -7 minus 5 to move down to find this. That gives me -12. Foci, pretty much the same thing. And in some ways, it's a little bit easier than ellipses because the foci are also lined up, okay? Which means, really, if you're going to change the y-coordinates here, you're going to change the y-coordinates here as well, okay? How much? This time by 13, not by 5. So it's going to be -7 plus 13, -7 minus 13, and I have the location of my 2 foci. And then the last thing is are the asymptotes. So again, easiest thing to do is just set up point slope form back in Algebra 1. So it's y minus y1, which you can't really screw up because it's staring right at you in the formula, equals the slope times x minus x1, which once again is staring right at you. So the only thing you need to be able to do is figure out that slope. Okay, the slope, like I said, is always y over x back in Algebra 1. So we'll use that to our advantage. So that's going to be y over x. More particular, y's denominator over x's denominator. And that is my asymptotes.